I like your attitude.
Viewers of the channel are likely aware of my growing beef with the Xenoblade franchise, particularly Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's a game I thoroughly despise, and while the criticisms I've voiced in the past could have been handled better, I stand by everything I've said. But all that negativity changes today, because for this video I vow to say nothing but kind words about this piece of work, even if there are glaring downsides to what I commend. And I can't begin to explain how hard it was to discipline myself while writing this script. The amount of times I've been tempted to be sarcastic, throw shade, or give backhanded compliments were countless, and I made a whole separate set of notes tearing this game to shreds in case I ever commit to a proper analysis video. I even planned on releasing this as an April Fool's joke so I could take back everything nice I'd say. However, with that opportunity missed, I have no choice but to be earnest in my appraisals. Hopefully this'll prove that I am indeed capable of no-frills positivity, and bring a more wholesome and constructive attitude to the channel. I'm in no position to start from a completely fresh save file, so this will be based on New Game Plus. Oh, and spoilers ahead. Let's do this. The first thing to welcome me back was the incredible score. I distinctly remember the soundtrack being a primary motivator throughout my initial playthrough, and it was my first real exposure to composer Yasunori Mitsuda. Certain tracks mirror some from the original both in composition and the context in which they are used, making for a great companion piece to Xenoblade 1. It impressed me so much that I sought out Mitsuda's other music, which has provided many hours of happy listening while working on other projects, something I'd easily recommend. As per series tradition, there's amazing visual variety amongst the titanic locales in terms of color, architecture, and atmosphere. Each has their own ecological and societal qualities lending to a rich sense of culture. The main thing that attracted me to Xenoblade back in the day was the epic and alien world design. I didn't think anything could top the striking awesomeness of Bionis and Mechonis, but All Rest is a solid competitor. All these titans roaming a sea of clouds circling a cybernetic world tree really gets my Xeno senses tingling. This game introduces a ton of complexities to the battle system, giving players a lot more to master. My favorite combat technique in this series is sequentially knocking down enemy defenses, like stringing break, into topple, into daze to temporarily immobilize a target. Xenoblade 2 adds to this idea of stacking status elements with launch and smash effects as well as elemental combos, and combined with a well-timed chain attack, the damage output can reach absurd levels. There are few things more satisfying and rewarding than watching the stars align as everybody works together to annihilate a tough boss, and this is coming from someone who apparently doesn't understand the full extent of these mechanics. The steady flow of drivers, blades, and upgrades supply constant new possibilities to consider, making the game's length more agreeable to those who take the time to engage with them. However, New Game Plus allowed me to focus less on grinding and stats and more on general artistry, where I was reminded of my appreciation for some of the characters. Rex, despite coming from tough circumstances, is unreasonably kind and grounded. He loves life and believes in hope for the world and everyone in it. His faithful, altruistic attitude makes him the perfect protagonist to combat the heavy, nihilistic, and existential threats All Rest is plagued by, bringing levity in dark moments and an infectious optimism to the party and by extension the player. Van Damme is an experienced mercenary with a rough exterior but a caring heart. He embraces that war is not about morals but rather differing perspectives, yet remains jovial and family-oriented. He's a strong leader because he has clear priorities, and between Van Damme's leadership and teaching moments, I imagine Rex sees him as a father figure, which makes it devastating when he's taken out of the picture so soon, though it sucks even more for me to lose such a valuable team member. I eventually found a permanent replacement in Zeke, whom I've always liked gameplay and personality-wise. I can't take this game seriously, so it's nice to have someone I'm actually allowed to laugh at. I enjoy his physical comedy and can't wait for him to speak because he always says the darndest things.
Were you so frightened by our power that you wet yourself, furry ears? That arsehole, the Aegis, has confronted us in person. I've been waiting here for 3 whole days already. Handling a man's turtle. Oi! No, bad blade, bad. What are you doing anyway? Dissing your own driver.
You guys crack me up.
Zeke's goofiness combined with his rocker attire and overblown self-assurance brings a fun energy to the party. In fact, everyone in the main cast are wildly unique, leading to colorful and entertaining interactions. There are so many characters within the campaign alone, yet astonishingly almost none of them feel wasted, covering a wide range of roles with most going through arcs to change and grow. They have histories, goals, and motivations, with pasts that impact their present, and all of this influences their decisions. Of course, my inner teenager is partial to the cool guys, so my biggest interest was the Torna crew. I've always loved Tetsuya Nomura as a graphic designer, so it was exciting to see his talents in a Xenoblade game. It may come as no surprise then that my favorite character is Jin, but not only for his looks. To me, Jin's struggle captures the essence of Xenoblade 2's central ideas. Much of the narrative is dedicated to exploring the complicated relationship between drivers and blades, with blades serving a very subservient role in human life. As antagonists, both Jin and Praetor Amalthus interpret this connection as a form of slavery, but being on two different sides of that equation, Jin resents this existence, wishing to destroy humans to set his people free, while Amalthus develops a god complex, worsened after stealing and resonating with an Aegis, believing himself to be an agent of the Architect's will. Existential dread affects all the major characters, driving them to different answers. Elysium is established early on as a sort of promised land, where Alrest's creator, known as the Architect, resides. There are many uncertainties surrounding this paradise, with some believing it doesn't even exist, making Rex's quest to bring Pyra there a potentially foolish endeavor, but a righteous and necessary risk as the Titans begin to die out, robbing their inhabitants of livable land. The situation gets so dire that the fate of the world hinges on whether or not Elysium is real, building anticipation unlike anything I've experienced. Executive director and scenario writer Tetsuya Takahashi seems to have a very complete understanding of how his imaginary universes work. The cultures and climates of each Titan are well thought out, and the story cleverly acts as a sort of tour through it all. I went on 2 family trips recently, sightseeing around parts of Texas, Washington, and Canada, which are pretty different from where I live, and when I approach Xenoblade 2 with a similar touristy mindset, I'm filled with appreciation for the creativity and forethought it must take to realize these fictional settings, especially in New Game Plus where I can avoid the usual RPG roadblocks. Unlike my real-life vacation, however, this adventure dives into the heart of creation itself. We get to see uglier sides of Alrest the further we go, starting with the Argentum Trade Guild, a bustling center for commerce, then Gormott, a fertile giant full of desirable resources, Uriah, a cavernous whale inhabited by refugees, mercenaries, and the Urian Kingdom who are in conflict with Mor Ardain, a desert region on the brink of ruin, as the Ardanian Empire seeks a way out. Indal, a theocracy ruled by Praetor Amalthus, who holds a concerning amount of control over Titans and Blades. Temperantia, a war-torn territory between Uriah and Mor Ardain. Genbu, an uncultivable frozen wasteland where the Tantalese barely survive off imported goods and a stolen royal legacy. And Moritha, a post-apocalyptic cityscape below the Cloud Sea resembling our modern-day cities, only in shambles and overrun by horrific zombified monsters. There's a surprising amount of politics and power struggles over natural resources, blades, and titans, steadily painting a grim picture of the deteriorating state of Alrest. But it's okay, right? Because Elysium is waiting for...
What is this place?
No.
Can this place really be Elysium? Where's the greenery? The water? Birdsong? There's nothing! Nothing here at all!
From what I've gathered, the Xeno series is known for climaxes that get scarily religious and metaphysical, Xenoblade 2 being a prime example. Upon learning that their beloved promised land is a lie, our heroes finally meet the one responsible, a frail, regretful old man. Turns out, Klaus the Architect is a scientist from an alternate doomed timeline who used a mysterious forbidden conduit to birth his own universes, one of which being the Bionis and Mechonis from the original game. Built above the ruins of his home planet, Klaus's other creation of Alrest was a test to see if life could start over where mankind's self-destructive hubris wouldn't repeat itself, aided by the Blades who would manage this new cycle of evolution. However, after the heinous acts of Amalthus and the world's imminent destruction under Malos, Klaus decided to leave Alrest to its inevitable fate. Worse yet, with the death of Zanza in Xenoblade 1 coinciding with these events here in Xenoblade 2, Klaus's demise also draws near. It's a sobering plot development that totally recontextualizes our perspective of everything we've known and done. Our efforts feel smaller and more hopeless than ever, which makes the following exchange oddly relieving.
Rex, what is it you desire?
To stop Malos.
And if you succeed?
I'll punch him in his stupid face, and then... probably get a drink with him or something. That's the 6th rule of the Salvager's Code. First have a punch out, then drink to forget. Once you've forgotten, the friendship's all set. I'm not old enough to drink yet, though.
Despite everything he's just heard, Rex still places value on the traditional beliefs and customs from his life, demonstrating love for the reality he was handed and an irrational willingness to forgive. And the cherry on top is his last words to Klaus.
Klaus, have you changed your mind about this world?
Right now, I think I am glad I met you all.
Got it. Then, our answers match. Thank you for giving us all life.
Real talk. When I started production on this video, I imagined it being sort of lighthearted and low effort, but there's been a lot of change, excitement, and loss for me in the last few weeks, and internalizing all that while replaying this has been an interesting ride of emotions. I naturally steer towards pessimism or cynicism, attitudes that may be evident in my discussions. Even if my overall impression of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is bad, this final chapter means a great deal to me, and not just because it reminds me of a game I actually like. Hope versus nihilism is a battle we all fight, one that personally gets harder with age, so I'm grateful this nugget of positivity exists in something that brings the worst out of me. I really do hate this game, but I'm glad I went through this exercise today. With no shortage of things to criticize, it's good to look for the best in the worst every so often, and no one is wrong for doling out deserved credit. I've unintentionally learned so much from this franchise over the years. It's helped me discover things about myself and has shaped my critical thought processes, so whether for good reasons or bad, I guess all that's left is to say thank you, Xenoblade 2. Thanks for giving me the courage to spill my guts on the internet, and for happening to convey a timely message I needed to rehear. We'll undoubtedly meet again one day, so hey, maybe I'll go easy from now on. Darn it, that was sarcasm. And with that said, my work here is done. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a marathon to prepare for. And this is coming from someone who apparently doesn't understand the full extent of these comics. What? All these titans roaming a sea of clouds, circling a cybernetic world. What?